it's kind of interesting sometimes when I'm teaching, and of course there's moments, if you are a prophetic teacher where a thought comes to you, it's like a prophecy, and it's actually something inspirational that hits you at the moment you're saying it, and you didn't know it before you said it, but it sounds so profound that you don't stop and tell the audience, oh, I didn't know that. But I like to go back and listen to or read the notes, because some of the greatest material that I've discovered has come out of having a conversation with people about what the Lord is saying, and then watching the Lord add to the conversation live while the conversation is taking place. What I'm talking about is a thing called the Mount Zion Mantle. It's the ability to adjust yourself to different levels of anointing, so that when you're going up into a higher sphere, you're learning how to operate in a different way. Now, all mastery comes down to distinctions. And the distinctions between a 30-fold or a 60-fold or a 100-fold revelation are going to be different. If you're talking to somebody who's just discovering healing, well, that's the beginning stage. If they're a practitioner, they're moving up. But if they're teaching it and doing it, they're at the 100-fold. The 100-fold is the ability to manifest the revelation. You get a revelation here, you're working it out here, and you're demonstrating it here. But what's fascinating to me is Chelsea Hicks, who's on our team, wrote the notes for this particular series that I did. And I found in it, as I was reading it, those key ahas that were coming to me live. I want to give you a couple of them right now that I think you might enjoy as much as I did. David, for instance, when he was anointed 3 times. And each anointing took him up closer to Mount Zion. Now, Mount Zion is important because that's the language for the government of God on the earth. When we talk about heaven and earth overlapping, so many of us think of miracles or revival, but what you need to think about is the government of heaven overlaying the activity of planet Earth. Mount Zion literally was where the government of David was established, and it becomes the place where Jesus returns so that he rules the earth from Mount Zion. So there's a revelation in this ascension in David's anointings, and what we'll find out is that if you look at a topographical map even of Israel, you'll see that there's the plains of Israel surrounding Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is a city that is elevated, and the peak of that elevation is where Mount Zion is, or where the Temple Mount will be, where the kingdom is established. And when David was meeting with his brethren, anticipating that he was anointed to go up as king to the place where he would rule in Mount Zion, he wasn't functioning as a king. He was actually functioning as a tribal leader. And he was in a place called Hebron. Hebron is the Hebrew word for the place of relationship. Now think about this. It is in the relationships that you form here that you're able to attract the anointing, to be able to ascend to higher levels. When David was at Hebron, he waited there, and the other tribes came to him and anointed him there. Now think about that. The other tribes anointed David. Now he was already anointed by Samuel when he started his journey off and he slew the giant. He was anointed to be king long before he manifested his role as a king. And that says to you that you are anointed to do something long before you manifest it. Inside of you here is the authority to rule in another level. And the frustration is, if you're here too long and you keep seeing this prophetically, you get frustrated over what's missing. That's where this series explains the stages and phases of the anointing and the distinctions that you have to make in order to be able to form the relationships where, now watch what happens. They came and anointed David with something called recognition. It was the ability to recognize who David was that enabled him to then become king so that they could go take Jerusalem and take the stronghold of Mount Zion. Why that is important right now in this teaching is that you may have heard for years teaching on favor, but the real secret of favor is the anointing of recognition. It's when somebody indispensable to your next level recognizes what's on your life. So I teach here how to attract the favor that releases the anointing of recognition, how to build the relationships that become a magnet to the right people recognizing what you've got, and then how to ascend the hill of the Lord so that you can rule over the territory God gave you. And by the way, that's just the first hour of the series. And I think, how many hours is this anyway? It's like 3 hours, it's 2 hours of training. So in the first hour, we talk about the firstborn anointing. What does it really mean when the Bible talks about a bridal company? How do you guard the anointing that is on your life so that it doesn't get lifted? How to work through the contradiction of being called as a king, but starting as a captain, and even being rejected by other people while you're pursuing the calling that God gave you. And then we go on in the teaching to talking about the real essence of convergence. How does the calling and the gifting and the opportunity in your life come together so that you can actually be accurate in the season that God has you in right now, going up the mountain of God? I'm telling you something. I think this is probably my best teaching this year. It's called the Mount Zion Mantle, and I encourage you to get it to reach the next level. Thanks for joining me on this broadcast. And you know, we can stay connected together. If you subscribe, you're going to be updated on the next broadcast that comes out. And you could like this right here, and we could actually start to create a movement of connected people.